Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Imperfect Marketing. I'm your host, Kendra Corman. We totally appreciate you tuning in, so thank you for being here. Today, we're going to be talking about the world of podcasting. It's growing rapidly. It is still growing, and there's so much space still for newcomers, new ideas, and new shows. Maybe even your voice, right? So let's go ahead and talk. I had a meeting with a client a few weeks ago, and it's a nonprofit. So there was a committee. And when talking to the committee, they were talking about that they wanted to start blogging monthly. Well, 2 or 3 people on the committee were like, I don't have time to read blogs. One even said, I don't even have time to read my email, let alone blogs. So they were talking about how we have to be present for where people are at, where they want to consume their content, and how they want to consume their content. Doesn't mean we can't blog. So we're going to work on leveraging the content of the podcast to create the blog. We're going to have a video version so that they have video, audio, and written word, no matter what it is that they want to consume. And I think that that's what's really important. And that's what's really driving the podcast revolution, for lack of a better term. Okay. So let's go ahead and start off with a question. When you think of podcasting, do you envision it as a crowded space that has millions of podcasts and no room for new entries? I'll let you think about it for a second. If your answer is yes, I want to tell you that you're probably missing the bigger picture. The podcasting industry is growing, but it is far from saturated. As of 2023, there are over 5 million podcasts globally, with over 70 million episodes between them. Now, that sounds like a lot, but I want you to think about that for a second. With a global population of over 7 billion people, 464.7 million podcast listeners globally, there is an ocean of opportunity that's waiting for you. So let's talk about potential audience size, right? Among the 5 million podcasts, a significant number are hosted on what I use, which is a system called Buzzsprout. It's one of the most popular hosting platforms for podcasts because it's super easy to use. Now on Buzzsprout, there are 127,600 and something active podcasts. And if your episodes are downloaded just 32 times in the first 7 days after release, you're in the top 50%. Just imagine the impact that you can have. So you want to think about listeners, right? So the US has the most podcast listeners in the world. And in 2023 alone, it predicted that over 100 million active podcast listeners will be in the US. What's more, 1/3 of the American population listens to podcasts regularly. 79% of people in the good old US of A listen to a podcast from their smartphones. So, contrary to a lot of common misconceptions, podcast listeners aren't predominantly older. In fact, Gen Z is leading the way in consuming podcast content at a rate more than double any other age group. That shows that podcasts aren't just for a specific age group. If you have a target, odds are there is a large group of them listening to podcasts. So what does all this mean, right? We're talking about the fact that there's a ton of podcasts, but there's also a ton of listeners. But there's a vast audience. That's the key. They're waiting to discover and listen to your unique ideas. In a world where 78% of the US population is aware of podcasts and 28% listen to podcasts weekly. And I think they average more than 11 episodes every week. It's crazy. The opportunities for new podcasters is massive. The industry is also financially promising. As of 2023, the podcasting industry in the US valued at $2 billion. And It's expected to be worth $4 billion in 2024. Globally, the podcast industry market size is $23.56 billion, and it is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 27.6% between 2023 and 2030. This growth means more opportunities for podcast creators just like you. So if you've been holding off starting a podcast because you think the space is too crowded, think again. There is room for you. There's an audience for you. And I want you to remember that no one else can bring your unique perspective and your unique voice to the world. In this world of AI doing so much writing for us, it's really important, I think, to hear the voice of creators. That's you. So that's it for today's episode of Imperfect Marketing. I hope that this information inspires you to start thinking about your podcasting journey and potentially thinking about actually getting it done. Join us next time as we talk about more ways to help you make your mark in the world with marketing. Until next time, I want you to remember perfection is not the key to success in marketing. It's about making connections, sharing stories, and adding your unique voice to the conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening or watching on the YouTube channel. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.